This is Greg Pruitt, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey guys, J-Rocc here from the Sports Fix, and we always talking about using our platform to try to help the world and the society we live in, and everywhere I go and everywhere we go, bullying is one of the problems in today's society. There's nothing worse than any person, big or small, strong or weak, adult or child, feeling picked on, pushed around, vulnerable, and victimized at the hands of a bully. Change comes one person at a time, and my good friends at No Such Thing as a Bully are working on skills and techniques and ways that we can all change and make things better for everyone. Find out more at nosuchthingasabully.com.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Visit fantasyjocks.com, your fantasy sports superstore. Championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
Away we go. There we go. Off and running. End of the week edition of the Sports Fix. We're back in the saddle again. J-Rocc, Jerry Myers here. Welcome in, you guys. Rocking and rolling. And boy, we've got a lot, always Fridays, a lot to get into. We've got a couple of guests coming on. Fridays are one of my favorite days. I don't want to put it above the other days because I love my chats that we get to have with everybody that's on the show, but I always look forward to Fridays, especially here with the change of the summer schedule, because you end up with two of my favorite guys on the same show every Friday. And I'll tell you what, when Jeff gets back from vacation, Jeff Gorman makes three. Trust me, no slight to him, but every Friday here during the summer, since we've kind of moved the Thursdays off to Fridays, we get Jonathan Knight, the sports writer extraordinaire, and Mike Brandenberry, both on the same show on most Fridays here during the summer. So I always get extra excited. Some days, I'm not going to lie, some days I don't even do show prep on Fridays because I start writing stuff down and I'm like, I don't need this. I'm talking to JK and Mike. We can talk for hours without writing a note down, but it's going to be a lot of fun today. I cannot wait to catch up with both of those guys, catch up with you. We've got tons of things to get into and talk about, you guys, so I don't know about you, but I'm ready to do the thing, man. Let's do it. Welcome in, you guys, to the Sports Fix. I am your host, as I said just a moment ago, the Big Daddy on the microphone, or the Big Daddy of Destruction. Depends on which one you want to go with. But either way, call me Jerry Myers. Call me what you will. Call me happy to have you guys here each and every weekday. As you can tell, I'm feeling good today. Happy to have you guys here each and every weekday at noon when we crack the mic and get rolling with the Sports Fix, Cleveland's freshest sports talk alternative. Although we don't just talk Cleveland sports, we hit the gamut of all of it. Matter of fact, I got a couple of things I want to talk about here anyways during the last few days. Some of the new, how about, well, we'll get into it in a minute. But anyways, you guys, welcome in, doing the thing, whether you're listening live on TuneIn's radio app worldwide, on Spreaker, on Mixler. Perhaps you're listening live on their digital and mobile apps, or maybe you're enjoying the show live as live can be right on our home base, thesportsfix.net, your one-stop shop for everything Cleveland sports, Sports Fix, etc., and so forth, all of that. You know the spiel already. If you haven't bookmarked it, bookmark it today, thesportsfix.net. Make sure you guys do, and of course, no slight to the thousands of you guys who listen. Literally, I think about 70% of the audience listens on digital delay 24/7 because you guys are around the world in time zones everywhere listening to us 24 hours a day. Maybe you're listening on digital delay on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, CarPlay. Maybe you're enjoying the show on iTunes or perhaps any of the multifaceted ways that you download, feed, subscribe, do the thing, podcast it, all the different ways that I don't prefer to call it a podcast. But hey, whatever your technical jargon is, do the thing. Thank you so much for doing it. And hey, most importantly, thank you for not just listening to the show, but being a part of this thing, baby, because as we say all the time, this is our deal. Together, it takes you and me to make us, and you guys are the voice of the Sports Fix, whether it's on the social media that you guys are constantly burning up, whether it's on the phone lines, no matter what it is, get your fix, be a part of the show. Phones are open, very limited. Actually, I may not even be able to crack the phones here in the first segment. We've got JK coming on less than 10 minutes from now. Mike Brandenberry following him up after that. I will crack him at the end of the show just in case anybody wants to get in. 216-539-7535, the number to call. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. Facebook, Twitter, always the easiest way to do the thing. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Make sure you like and or follow us on those various platforms. If you do, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you know what? Couple of things. Just want to, and we'll get into, I'll do this at the last segment too. Couple of things before we get into the sports talk of the thing. Looking forward to seeing some of you guys this weekend. Tomorrow, out in Erie, Pennsylvania for Pro Wrestling Rampage. I will be at the Saga Club. I know some of you guys have made a habit out of showing up there, and I look forward to seeing you guys come and find me. Not only will I be there, but I will be debuting the brand new J-Rocc Daddy King of Cleveland t-shirts. Brand new design, brand new t-shirt. Looking forward. It's actually pretty cool. This design, I haven't even showed it yet. It's going to be debuted for the first time tomorrow. But I've got a black and white landscape of the city of Cleveland, the downtown visage there across the front of the shirt. And then rising up alongside the Terminal Tower in neon green is yours truly doing the whole give it up one time pose. Very interesting front. And then on the back, got the whole J-Rocc Daddy, never gone that way. Anyways, new t-shirt available for you guys. Hopefully you enjoy it. And I'll get some pictures of that up for you guys online that may be interested as well. But come on out to the Saga Club tomorrow night and check us out. And speaking of, added a few new dates. Next Sunday, looking forward to making my debut in the Saginaw, Michigan market, as I just grabbed a show there. Also, in the next month or two, cannot wait to add a couple of dates, heading back up to upstate New York. Looking forward to heading to the Rochester and Buffalo area in the next few months. So things just keep picking up. And you guys, I love the chance to get out there and see you guys. Got some big things planned at the end of the month. Cannot wait to come to Chicago. I've got Pittsburgh, Chicago, Dayton, some great shows. We're hitting many places in Pennsylvania, a couple of ballpark shows. I'm telling you guys, this summer is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you guys as we get out here and do the thing. The summer at J-Rocc continues. So hopefully I get to see some of you tomorrow. Thank you guys for your patience as I gave it a little quick wrestling plug there. And you can continue to follow the social media, keep up with all of my dates and appearances. It is really, that's one of the coolest things. So many of the guys that reach out to me aren't even necessarily pro wrestling fans. They're just you guys, listeners of the Sports Fix. And they're like, hey, man, I'm going to come check you out because I've been listening to you on the radio from Chicago. As a matter of fact, I got a half a dozen people already who have said, hey, we've been listening to you for years here in Chicago. I can't wait to see you in person or see the person behind the microphone. And all of these places, it's the same thing. Really cool. And I love the chance to I'm telling you, man, the smile on my face gives it away. Anytime somebody comes up and goes, dude, I listen to the Sports Fix. That's this is our baby here. And so I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you guys very much. And tomorrow is the next one as we head to Erie, Pennsylvania. A couple of things. It's just about 5 minutes here. I'll hit the break. Jonathan Knight's going to join us and we'll really get rolling downhill outside of Cleveland. Just a couple of things I wanted to get into. Boy, we mentioned at the beginning of the week, Jason Pierre-Paul, I think a lot of you guys have probably heard he had the fireworks accident over the 4th of July. Man, some interesting issues about that have come out that haven't really been talked about. First off, Adam Schefter was somehow able to get the medical records of Jason Pierre-Paul. And, I mean, doesn't HIPAA protect this? Aren't there laws that stop? You can't just put somebody's medical information out there from the file. I mean, I've seen pictures floating around of a mangled hand. If those are legit, that was a nasty accident. One finger amputated, broken thumb, cosmetic surgery needed to repair skin grafts needed. Lots of damage done to Jason Pierre-Paul there. But I've seen pictures leaked. Apparently, Adam Schefter got his hands on the actual medical file, which again, HIPAA. Has anybody heard of that? I'm pretty sure that's against the law. And I know ESPN says they're shielded, says that news outlets are not, they have protection, I guess, against that. How do you get your hands, unless, as far as I know, even in a court of law, unless a judge says otherwise, unless Jason Pierre-Paul signs away the rights to check out his medical documents, that is private. I mean, literally one doctor can't tell another doctor information about a patient unless he has permission from his client, or from his whatever you want to say, patient, whatever. Sorry about that, I got stuck in legal terms for a minute, but you got to get permission from the patient to release it. So I'm curious how they're going to explain how they got their hands on those medical documents. But nasty. And he wasn't the only one. He is the one that everybody's talking about, but I saw there was a second, and I want to make sure that I give you the right name here. There was a second player who also lost fingers. C.J. Wilson from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also lost fingers in a accident involving fireworks over the 4th of July weekend. That one's kind of been brushed away because of all the talk about Jason Pierre-Paul, but there's a second one. And you know what? A kind of a damning picture. And hey, hindsight, always, you can talk about things after the fact. But I saw some of the pictures from one of Jason Pierre-Paul's neighbors took a picture. He had to rent a box truck to bring in the fireworks that he was bringing in. I mean, I can't lie. I'm one of the people who, our family has had private fireworks displays literally since I was like 5 years old. My dad did it. Now my brother took over the tradition, continues to do it. I know it's illegal here in the state of Ohio, but I think we're past the statute of limitations. I don't know. Anyways, I can appreciate that, but man, you don't put 20 or what he may lose his contract. He's got the tender out there from the Giants, but he was negotiating on a $60 million deal. The Giants have pulled that deal from the table. They may pull his contract tender from the table. You don't blow off fireworks with a $60 million hand. That's all I'm saying. Somebody else can do that. But, fireworks safety, no joke. And, if there is a plus side to something as bad as that, it's that hopefully regular people like my son, look at a story like they may not listen to Joe Smith, the average guy on TV that goes, hey, I blew off my hands, because they don't pay attention to that stuff. But maybe when they see that it happens to, and again, you don't want, I'm not asking for this, but if there's a silver lining, it's that maybe some people, some younger people see that and go, boy, I mean, even guys I look up to, even millionaires, even big athletes, even big superstars, whatever you want to say, even they are vulnerable just like us. Everybody's human, man. That doesn't change it. So some nasty stuff there. And I'm telling you, that picture that I saw leaked out there of Pierre-Paul's hand just absolutely mangled. And I want to know how. How did they get that stuff out there? You know what else? I bet you Mark Cuban wants to know how. How in the world did DeAndre Jordan not end up a Dallas Maverick? That story was hilarious and yet sad at the same time. I thought it was hilarious because the Clippers were able to convince DeAndre Jordan to give them one more chance after he agreed to sign with the Mavericks. And then not only did they convince him to come back to the Clippers and ditch the deal that he agreed to with the Dallas Mavericks, but then Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and those guys hung out in DeAndre Jordan's house, locked the front door, and literally took his cell phone from him. Wouldn't let him get any phone calls, messages, no carrier pigeons were getting in. They said, no chance, we're going to let the Dallas Mavericks come in and change this deal, and they got their man signed at midnight. But my question is, if I'm the NBA, I may have to change that new period that they just gave here with this moratorium on signing, because the Dallas Mavericks, and listen, business is business, but their free agency has been drastically affected now because due to other bigger centers, other centers who would have fit what Dallas needed, making commitments elsewhere. Now that Dallas lost DeAndre Jordan, they're playing behind the eight ball. There's talk that they may not be able to even compete for a playoff spot because of the holes in their roster. Now, I did hear that they're trying to pursue perhaps a buyout for Deron Williams from the Nets to bring him back home to fill the point guard spot. But a big hole, no pun intended, now for Dallas. And they have a hard time getting hey, if DeAndre Jordan tells them no on day one, they go after fish number two. But you can't hook fish number 1, watch fish number 2, 3, and 4 get caught by other fishermen, and then fish number 1 says, you know, I changed my mind, and now you have no fish left to catch for yourself. If I was Mark Cuban, I'd be quite a bit upset about that. Either make the signing period where they agree, they sign, and there's no changing it, because to me, I know buyer beware, but Chandler Parsons not happy about any of that either. If you guys saw that, he was the one who's friends with Jordan, convinced him to come over. He called him out. He said he is not ready to be great. He's not ready to be a franchise player. He kept saying we can still be friends, but if you listen to Chandler Parsons' interview, I don't think they can be friends anymore. We'll talk some more about that. Do you think it's fair that new period that they just put in to let a team, hey, it could very easily happen to a team like the Cavs. I'm just saying, even though everybody hated being here in Cleveland, somehow everybody signed back. Isn't that amazing? Everybody that was gone came back. These guys must have been held hostage over the weekend. Talk about DeAndre Jordan. They must have been held hostage over the weekend there. But anyways, LeBron came back. Kevin Love came back. David Blatt's still the coach. Can you even believe what I'm talking about here? All right, guys. I'm going to take a break and pick up talking about this. I'm going to ask Jonathan Knight what he thinks about that and more. Don't go anywhere. The sports writer extraordinaire, Jonathan Knight, joins us. We're talking Cavs, free agency, Indians, and more. We've just begun today's edition of the Sports Fix, baby.
Pause, take a breath and go for yours. On my command, now hit the dance floor. It's gonna make you sweat till you bleed. Is that dope?
Get your fix.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got to do.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry the King Lawler from WWE, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix. Quick break. We're right back at it. Going to jump back into the fire, per se, with my man, Jonathan Knight, the sports writer extraordinaire. Got a lot of things to get into. You guys can keep it going on Facebook and Twitter. Talk to me. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Twitter the Sports Fix CLE. Where you at? Where are you listening to the show? Last week, my man Chase was listening down in the ATL. I told him, hey, bring that broom back that we left down there because we got some sweeping to do next season. We'll pick up. Hey, I want to see what Jonathan Knight thinks about the I think that DeAndre Jordan thing is just I thought it was funny, but at the same time, I think that that's a loophole that sucks. I'm telling you, we may laugh. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan today, you're not happy. And if that happened to the Cavs, we sure as hell wouldn't be happy either. Let's say Kevin Love said he was coming home and then yesterday decided, man, somebody talked him into changing his mind after the commitment was made. I'll tell you, there'd be some Kevin Loves burning in effigy today. There may be a few DeAndre Jordans burning in effigy in Dallas right now. But a lot of things to talk about. Let's do it. Jonathan Knight, sports writer extraordinaire, with us every Friday here on the Sports Fix. JK, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Jerry. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm fantastic, man. I'm glad to have you back here with us and doing the thing every Friday. I was talking about it real quick. I just was curious maybe where you're at, even though it doesn't directly affect, Cleveland and the Cavaliers and all that. I don't know how much you saw the story about DeAndre Jordan this week. And while there's some humor to the fact that the guys locked him into his house and said, hey, man, we're not going to let – and they didn't. They didn't let Mark Cuban even get a phone call back into to DeAndre Jordan. And there was some funny tweets with chairs in front of the door and stuff like that. But, boy, wasn't this the first season that the NBA tried out that moratorium period where teams could talk but not make agreements, because it may have backfired. Because if I was the Mavericks and Mark Cuban, I'd be highly upset because the top 4 other centers that I could have went after are all off the board now, and I'm left holding the bag in my hand.
Yeah, you're right. Totally mostly comical. I mean, these stories we're hearing, it sounds like a scene from Jerry Maguire or something. Like, this I can't believe this happened in real life, But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's the first thing I thought was, when you hear the story and hear the background of it, is why in the world, how is it advantageous? Or I'm sure there are advantages to it, but did no one foresee a situation like this where you have a period where you can negotiate but not sign? Of course something like this was going to happen. The other thing I think you have to look at is like, well, geez, if his teammates and everyone in the Clippers camp is that concerned that they're putting chairs in front of the door and taking his cell phone and all of this, how committed is he to anything? I mean, if he's that persuadable that they're just afraid whoever talks to him last is where he's going to go. Like, geez, is this just a person who cannot make up his mind, who just goes, who follows whatever advice the last person told him? Like, many weird things about this story.
I mean, you had a friend who tried to, and I was talking about that too. Chandler Parsons says we're still friends, but he sure didn't talk like they're still friends anymore. He said, hey, man, he wasn't ready to be great, et cetera, and so forth. But, I mean, I think a lot of it too is that he did not want to leave. I don't believe he wanted to leave. He just wanted somebody to make him their priority. He wanted to be catered to. He wanted to be told, hey, we're going to continue to give you a better role on the offense, and he felt slighted. So he took the next offer, and then all of a sudden the Clippers said, hey, you didn't even give us a chance to come in and tell you what we wanted to do, and next thing you know, it opened up. I thought it was comic-y as far as the story of locking him in the house, but boy, I mean, imagine if that happened to the Cavs. Imagine if we got a verbal commitment from Kevin Love here, or LeBron James, God forbid, and then yesterday, all of a sudden it goes up in smoke and Dan Gilbert can't get through to nobody on the phone. I mean, it would be a lot more important here in Cleveland now, but if it could happen to them, it could happen to anybody.
And basically, this did happen to the Cavs. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's having Carlos Boozer flashbacks here. Obviously, it's a different story without the Keystone Cops element to it, but basically that's what happened. The Cavs were told one thing by a player who then reneged on what he said. So, to look at the flip side of the coin for everyone who's upset, and I totally understand why, this is a lot like high school athletes and National Signing Day. It's one thing to verbally commit, and it's something else when you sign the letter. Even now, I mean, we've seen players back out of signing letters and whatever. But at this level, I mean, you can't. A verbal commitment is nice, and I think that's why many people, even after Kevin Love said, "I'm coming back," didn't believe it until he signed.
They wanted to make sure.
And this is why. I mean, you don't count anything, and I know Dallas is complaining that we made moves, thinking that he was coming and this, that, the other thing. Is like, well, that's your problem. I mean, you cannot do that. You cannot be making moves based on a verbal agreement or what. I mean, when it's signed and official and everything's notarized and ready to go, then okay, proceed. It's officially official. Until then, no. And I think that's a lesson that we all need to learn in many aspects of life, but particularly this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, it'll be funny. Matter of fact, in the news update, because I heard it record, there's somebody had a quote in there that said they think the NBA has no plans on making any changes. They like this period. But I think you got to, I don't know. I mean, letting people talk is one thing, but I don't know, when you get to verbal commitments, hell, in some states, isn't a verbal commitment a contract? Like, I don't know, but I think in some states you may have locked yourself in anyway. But it does segue me right into what I did want to talk about off of that, which is the Cavs. And isn't it amazingly funny that the Cavs are going to field a roster of people next year who either didn't want to play for the Cavs, had no intention of coming back to play for the Cavs, or were going to be fired by the Cavs? I mean, we've got a head coach that's not supposed to be here. We got a star player that couldn't leave fast enough. Kevin Love should be in L.A. right now. I mean, somehow they all came back. How in the world did that happen, J.K.? How did they all do what they said they were going to do?
I think the funny thing is, and I think this is, I step on a soapbox for just a second here. I think this is what you're seeing with I don't even really want to call it journalism in sports right now, because it really isn't. It is at best a rumor mill. I mean, that's what this is. It's just rumors and scuttlebutt and opinion being masked as fact, masked as informed opinion. I mean, it just isn't. That's what this is, and that's why this is fueling the fire. There was never any indication coming from any of these people, whether the Cavs front office about Blatt, whether Love himself, did he say anything that indicated he was going to leave? No. Did LeBron say anything that indicated he was going to leave? No. You had people looking at a situation and then drawing their own conclusions, connecting dots on faulty thinking, and then reporting it as news. And then everyone's surprised when things go against that. And, well, why should we be surprised? You're basing these theories on absolutely nothing. There was nothing to base them on. So I can't imagine why anyone who is at all tuned into the situation would be surprised by the way that it turned out. So I mean, I think you would only be surprised if you believed what some of these reporters, for lack of a better term, or columnists, bloggers, whatever you want to call them, were talking about for months, because there was nothing to base this on. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, in one sense, it's like, wow, this is amazing that the Cavs had the stars align. That's amazing. What are the odds of that happening? No, it's not amazing. This was going to happen all along.
Absolutely. I love it. You know what? It's a bit of a surprise. I'm curious, where are you at? Because I'm all for it. I definitely think the Cavs are better off for bringing Mo Williams back. I was cool with it when I heard the rumors of it, and I was looking at some metrics this week for anybody that says, oh, that's great, because I had a lot of guys go, well, let's just go in the time machine and let's get Boobie Gibson and Jamario Moon. But Mo Williams last season, if you look at the advanced metrics, they have a stat called player efficiency rating. And regardless of what you want to give credence to, you can follow a trend, even if you don't buy into the metrics. He was his most efficient last season. So this is a guy that clearly is still on a decent part of his career. He hasn't hit that over the cliff. And as most players are, he was also most effective playing alongside LeBron James. But LeBron was also most effective playing along him. Did you know that Mo Williams is the fourth highest scoring teammate LeBron James has ever had in his career, and the third best assist numbers for any teammates? And the only other ones above Mo Williams is Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. Oh, and Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie Irving. So the three superstars that LeBron has played with along his career, of the 117 players that he's been a teammate with, Mo Williams is the fourth best statistically.
How about that? I had no idea. That's really interesting. I have to confess, to be perfectly honest,
you didn't like it.
When his name came up as well, he may sign with the Cavs. My thought wasn't it's good or it's bad. My thought was, he's still playing? I honestly did not know. I was not tuned in. I hadn't seen him. I just hadn't caught him playing. I just assumed he was just out of the game or was just clinging somewhere as a 12th man type situation. I had no idea that he was in serious consideration to come back to the Cavs and be a productive player. But you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at his stats the last couple of years, he's not as old as I thought he was. He's 32. So, and if you look at his numbers from the last several years, yeah, they're really not that much different than when he was here the first time. So, yeah, I mean, sure. What is there to lose, really? I think that's a good move, even without the PR angle of getting the band back together. I think the Cavs can do nothing but benefit from this.
No, I agree. I think that he upgrades the backup point. And one point that I brought up the other day that I don't know that anybody else is talking about is there is no guarantee Kyrie Irving is ready to play basketball on opening day.
Sure, right.
He may need to sit out the first 4-6 weeks of the season, and Mo Williams can start. Delly is not an effective day-in, day-out starter, as we've seen. He's a bench piece that gives you minutes. Mo can be your starter for a month if you need to, and really have no drop-off, especially because he's familiar with LeBron, and he can kind of – a lot of the offense is the same tenets anyway as last time. It doesn't change a lot when you play with LeBron. So that's another benefit that I think makes him a better choice than some of the other guys whose names were tossed out there, is that he can start if need be, and come the playoffs too. Hey, last year, as great as Delly did, wouldn't you have rather had him playing less minutes more effectively down the stretch and had a guy like Mo Williams to start at point guard? You can say what you want. I went back and looked at his playoff numbers. They weren't as bad as people make it sound. He actually was, I mean, now in hindsight, we go, oh, well, Mo didn't show up for the playoffs. That's not true. J.R. Smith didn't show up for the finals. Mo Williams was not that bad when you look at his playoff numbers.
Yeah, I never understood. I mean, even looking at his general time in Cleveland, I can remember right after the bottom fell out, LeBron left, and the team was broken up, that people kind of rolled their eyes, oh, Mo Williams, like he was kind of the face of this group of underachieving players that they couldn't match what LeBron needed or couldn't provide what LeBron needed. And I never felt that way. I mean, even playoffs or regular season, I always sort of looked at him as a perfectly adequate number two. Like, he wasn't great. Of course, he wasn't one of the best point guards in the league, but he was serviceable. He did the job and was certainly an upgrade over what the Cavs had before he arrived. So, yeah, I don't see any downside at all. I'm excited to see, and you bring up a good point too, that with Kyrie, that whether or not he's ready at the beginning of the season, just based on past history, Kyrie is not going through an entire season without something happening. So ideally, it won't be as catastrophic as what he went through in the playoffs. But I mean, Mo Williams will undoubtedly start at least 10 to 15 games in place of Irving or whatever over the course of the season. So yeah, I mean, this is really a no risk type of move.
I think the final piece of the puzzle, and I'll tell you who kind of screwed themselves in free agency, in my opinion, is J.R. Smith, because J.R. Smith had the chance to come back for $6.5 million. The Cavs have less than $2 million left now, and they want to bring him back. And apparently he doesn't have the biggest market, although I've heard Miami, I've heard a couple of other cities, now that other free agents are off the board, are starting to turn their focus to J.R. Smith. He's starting to get at the top of some people's B list of free agents, but he's probably not going to get that kind of money elsewhere. And I think he wants to come back to Cleveland. I could be wrong, but there's no way that he's going to get the contract. He should have kept the option and then got out next year when the salary cap went up and made his $6.5 million. Because to come back to Cleveland now, he's probably going to have to sign. I would guess they can't sign him for anything more than $5 million for 2 years, $6 million maybe. I mean, they just don't have it to necessarily give him. But I think if you bring him back, I think that's the end of what the Cavs do. And I would definitely like the Cavaliers coming back, that grouping of players. Everybody came back, and you added, I think, one, maybe two of their draft picks end up being bottom of the bench contributors this season, because I like those big guys they drafted. And I think you add a piece like Mo Williams there. Think about that. If you're five guards, if you've got Kyrie, Mo Williams, Shumpert, Smith, and Delly, I'm good with that as my five-guard rotation right there.
Sure. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think whether it's J.R. Smith or someone else, I think they still would like to add somebody at that two spot, someone that can step into either, ideally, to both be able to shoot the three-pointer and play good defense, ideally both, but at least one or the other. And I think if they can get J.R. Smith at a discount, sure, bring him back. But yeah, they need to do something. That's sort of that last hole, that last puzzle piece that they do need to address here, before free agency ends. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
For sure, but most of the band is coming back, and they've it's funny too. as the Cavaliers announced it. Yesterday, I kept getting emails from the Cavs. I'm like, yeah, well, I've kind of known this for a couple of weeks. But, they have to do everything officially there. And you love to hear. Did you see what Mo Williams said about coming to play for the Cavs? And, I mean, again, words are words. But, him and Kevin Love both had some very good statements that should make you feel good about at least the core of this team staying together for the next few years, man. And now the talk is over, man. No more BS Windhorse speculation. Now the window is 4 to 5 years, and now we get to watch them jump through it for the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, and this is good. I think, like we said, there probably was very little drama behind the scenes compared to what we thought or what we heard was going on, but it is still reassuring to know that this wasn't the Cavs' only shot, that they've got at least 1 or 2 more bullets left in that chamber to take a shot at bringing it home. So that's very reassuring. And again, a good July for the Cavs. This is 2 summers in a row that they really have done a very nice job of even it's just maintaining. In this case, it was a lot more of checking those boxes, but still a lot of complicated negotiations behind the scenes. So hats off to the Cavs for back-to-back really nice summers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be, as you said, a lot of fun to watch them now to deal with this here and see what they can do with it. Hey, real quick, before I let you go, man, speaking of doing some things, Indians, they won 8 of 11 here. Cody Anderson last night continuing to, I'll tell you, I was watching the game, and he gave up the solo home run there. I think it was the 3rd inning or whatever. And he walked a guy here and there, gave up a hit, and you're going, oh, well, so they're starting to figure him out. But he still did very well again. Even as the book starts to get out on that kid, man, he continues to deliver for the Indians. And man, they were talking in the postgame show yesterday, but boy, you give this team 4 runs. If they can just get to the 4-run mark, boy, they're the best team in baseball in the second half. I would predict that now because, I mean, you're getting the pitching every single night.
And that's amazing, too. And they showed the statistic last night that 4-run is that's more than just a slogan or more than just sort of a cliche. I mean, it is. They showed the Indians' record. When they score at least 4 runs, their record is 32-11.
Yes.
And you look at that and you think, that's dominant. This should be a dominant baseball team because we're not talking about 5 runs, 6 runs, where you have some sort of offensive explosion a couple of times. No, 4 runs. The league average is 4.23.
I know.
The Indians are beneath that. If the Indians were just averaging 4 runs a game, they would be well over 500. They would be, if not in first place, at least be in contention. I mean, just look at that and say, this is everything. The Indians pitching, particularly the last couple of weeks, now that Anderson has settled in and you've just got there's no break in that rotation, the Indians have been outstanding pitching-wise and naturally have sort of dragged the team up, and they've played much better the last couple of weeks because of it. But my gosh, if the offense could just produce average. We're not asking about 1995 type numbers. No, if they could just hit the league average, then yeah, they could and should be a playoff team. I mean, you look at they've lost 7 one-run games this year, and if you average 1 more run per game, you figure they're going to win. That's about a 4 or 5 game difference in their record. And suddenly now, instead of 3 games under 500, you're 4 or 5 games over 500, and you're within 5 games of first place. You have the second wild card. I mean, it changes everything. Such a little thing. It's getting very granular talking about some of these statistics. But, yeah, the pitching has been so good that if the offense were just competent, this would be a dominant team.
Absolutely. And here's something for people to say, well, they had a run before, and then here's the difference to me is when they got hot before, it was against so-so competition. I will say this, of the streak that they're on now, 8 of 11, every one of those series, playoff teams if the season ended now. So you're talking about the top wild card teams in the American League and in the National League, and you had the Astros here. So, I mean, the level of competition is a little better than it was when they got hot at the end of May there, too. So, I mean, it's clear that they're trending upwards, but there's still, and I know Mike Brandenberry is going to get on it here when we go next because he's going to go down the center field pipeline here and how the Indians, that's one of the biggest defensive spots because as much as we've seen, they're still working their way back up defensively, but Francisco Lindor definitely helps with that, by the way. But they still have some problems to deal with to get where they want to get at the end of the year. But there's nobody that can't say that they're not playing better now. And maybe, just maybe, the second half of the season does not need to be the gloom and doom that some people have already predicted it to be, because they're clearly starting to put the pieces together. And like you said, they can just get 2 runs a game. I mean, look at Corey Kluber's getting 2 runs a game of run support. I mean, the league average in every other pitcher's start, I think, is like 2.5 or so. Like he can't even get to the average. It's ridiculous. And those things.
You're right, and that's why I think this weekend with Oakland coming in is really you hate to say important series because it's still very early. It's still, you're just at the midpoint of the season. But with the All-Star break coming up, the Indians are within. This is as close to 500 as they've been in well over a month, and if they can win 2 out of 3, or even if they were to sweep this series, and that's a tall order for a team that's scoring about 2.5 runs a game. But hypothetically, if they were to sweep this series, they would be at 500 at the All-Star break, and I think that would be such a massive boost in confidence that for everything that went wrong, for as poorly as the Indians played for so much of this first half, for them to come into the All-Star break with a 500 record, and you get the time off and get your head right. You come back, and it's sort of the start of a new season, a fresh start, and now that would be like, okay, now this can begin. And that's everybody's pointing to that now from what Kansas City did last year. They were essentially at this exact same spot a year ago. They were just about at 500, under 500 at the All-Star break, turned it on in the second half, went to the 7th game of the World Series. So that's sort of the model for all of these sort of teams that have had crummy first halves. Well, look at Kansas City last year. So not to say that it will happen, but there is that hope there. So if the Indians can take care of business this weekend, at least take 2 out of 3, keep this momentum going, be within 2 games of 500 going into the second half, I think that would just be huge.
Absolutely. From your lips, my man. And, hey, should be some good crowds hopefully this weekend. You've got the fireworks night here tonight, Dollar Dog Night as always. I think what else do they? I think they've got a couple of other promotions going on this week. Sandy Alomar jersey is on Saturday. That should be a big one there. Then Corey Kluber pitches on Sunday. Kluber and Sonny Gray, that's going to be a hell of a pitching matchup on Sunday for sure, man. Sonny Gray is awesome. I don't know how much you've seen him, but I love watching that kid pitch for Oakland.
Yeah, and it is more fun. We've reached a point where it's more fun to watch the Indians pitch than hit. I was thinking the last couple of nights, even though they've won and they've come through with basically 2 big innings, one big inning Wednesday night and 1 big inning Thursday night to win the game. But along the way, the rest of those games were just, I kept thinking back to the 90s, if you remember when, packed houses at Jacobs Field, how when the Indians were batting, everyone's, of course, enraptured with what's going on. And in the minute that third out is made, everyone, let's hit the bathroom. And then you see 20,000 people get up and leave. I feel like now it's the other way around. Like, once the Indians get out of an inning defensively, they come into the dugout, everyone's like, yeah, let's go get some hot dogs. I really don't want to watch these guys hit, because it really is. It is painful, some of these innings where they're retiring the side in 8 or 9 pitches, and it's just nothing leaves the infield, and they're popping. Oh, it hurts. I would much rather watch the Indians pitch than hit right now, and I don't think there's ever been a time in all the years I've followed the Indians I could say that.
For sure. Speaking of, we'll wrap it up with this. We were talking about the pitching and Cody Anderson. Bruce has got a good stat, but Cody Anderson has only given up 3 earned runs in his first 30 innings here that he's pitched. But Anderson, with his .89 ERA in his first 4 starts, became the first pitcher in baseball since 1914 to start his career with 4 straight starts of at least 6 2/3 innings with 0 or 1 run allowed in each. That's a hell of a first start for that kid, for sure.
Over 100 years. That's amazing. And to think that he was their 4th option at
4th choice, yeah.
Wait a minute, what's going on here?
We tried Markham twice. We tried Chen. We gave everybody a shot before they said, you know what? Let's try the kid, man. Let's see what he can do, man. And to end this conversation, I just got the email from the Cavs just seconds ago. The official signing of Mo Williams to the Cavaliers, as they've now confirmed Shumpert, they've confirmed Love, they've confirmed Mo. I expect to get an email here momentarily about the LeBron James contract as well. But there you go. They're bringing the band back together, brother.
Yeah, they are. That's good
Damon
news.
Jones
That's
is on a
great to hear.
treadmill right now, JK, running it up, man. He wants to play. He was in the huddle during the finals just looking like, boy, do I want to play right now, man.
Yeah.
Come on, I can still shoot. And I'm just saying, man, somewhere, Damon Jones is on a treadmill texting LeBron, Bron, I'm getting ready. Bron, I'm getting ready. Just bring me to camp, man. Speaking of getting ready, as we roll out, my man, you're getting ready to come up to town, right? What do you got going on this weekend?
Tomorrow we're going to be at Offer Alley over at Loganberry Books in Shaker Heights. It's part of the Ledgmere Festival, which is a great time. I was up there last year for it. It's from 12 to 4 there on Ledgmere Boulevard in Shaker Heights. Me and a bunch of other really great writers are going to be there. There are book signing stuff. Looks like the weather's going to be good. It's actually the only outdoor book fair I've ever done, which works on great days, and tomorrow's going to be a great day. So, yeah, come on out. It'll be great. You can loganberrybooks.com has the directions and the info. But 12 to 4 tomorrow, come on out. It's going to be a good time.
How's the book been doing? Of course, we're talking about The Making of Major League, the just a bit inside look at the greatest baseball comedy of all time. How's the book going?
It's going really well. What's interesting now is because the Milwaukee Brewers have their Major League night coming up, not next week, but the week after, where they're giving away a Harry Doyle bobblehead, right? And having all kinds of fun. Yeah. So the Milwaukee media is starting to get excited about it, and doing some interviews with some of them, and some things are set up for next week. So it's, again, you wouldn't think you would see this much interest outside of Cleveland, but yeah, Milwaukee's jumping all over this. They want to talk about it too, because it's almost as big a movie to them as it is to us. So it'll be interesting these next few days or next couple of weeks leading up to that event, what kind of response it gets. It'll be fun.
Listen, man, if you ever wanted to hook your boy up, I'm just saying, if anybody offers to send you a couple of those Harry Doyle bobbleheads, I would love for you to send one.
Oh, I would too.
I think that's the coolest one I've seen.
What's so funny about this is that when they announced this event, or they announced the bobblehead specifically back in, I don't know, January, February, something like that, they do a special, and teams are starting to do this now with really popular bobbleheads, that you have to buy a special ticket. It's not as expensive, but you have to buy the ticket to get one, and they have 8,000 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they sold out those tickets in like 2 hours, and it was gone. And said, okay, well, we need to get some more, and so then they sold a few more, like another 8,000 or 5,000 tickets or something like that, because it was that popular. So this is going to be one of probably the biggest events that they ever do out there.
Yeah, because it's the new trend, the enhanced bobbleheads. Beyond just the traditional ones, these are the ones that either have lights and sounds and audio and different things. They've got like the Star Wars lightsabers that light up, and the Harry Doyle with the different phrases. That is just too cool, man. Just to have that on your desk talking back to you, just a bit outside. I'd flick that thing in the head all day long. I would just make it talk to me all day long, man.
If you can't be there, if you've got $200 and account on eBay, it's gonna be yours.
I'm just saying, man. You could make one of those little internet skits off of it, just talking Harry Doyle, and the bobblehead just sits on your car and drives around with you, and somebody voices it over, man. It could be great.
Priceless. Yeah,
JK,
it's
my
gonna be
man.
fun. I can't wait to see this thing.
Oh, yeah. You'll be up here tomorrow, and, of course, the website, makingofmajorleague.com, correct? Or majorleaguebook.com, right? Either one.
Correct. Both of them will take you to the same place.
Check them out, you guys. Of course, it's on Amazon and everywhere that books are sold. JK, have a great week. Enjoy the Tribe this weekend, and then you and I will catch up next week. It'll be, about All-Star break time when we talk next week? And let's see if they can
Hard to believe we're already there.
Yeah, let's see how close they can get to 500 before then.
Indeed. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it, buddy.
All right, have a good one, my man. JK, thank you so much for being with us, the sports writer extraordinaire. Check him out as well tomorrow, and makingofmajorleague.com, majorleaguebook.com. Find out where you can pick up your copy of The Making of Major League by my man, Jonathan Knight. Let's take a break, get you the news, and jump right back into the fire, as Metallica would say, with my man Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. We'll pick up that Indians and Cavs talk and so much more when we come back after the news here on the Sports Fix.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history? In-depth personal interviews with some of the top-name incredible books. This year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. No man has won back-to-back titles at Wimbledon since Roger Federer did it in 2006 and 2007, but Novak Djokovic can end that drought. In today's semifinals, they're now live on ESPN. The number one seed is serving for the match. He leads Richard Gasquet 7-6, 6-4, 5-3. Federer will meet Andy Murray in the second semi. Will the NBA shorten or eliminate its moratorium on signing free agents in the wake of the DeAndre Jordan about-face? ESPN NBA front office insider Tom Penn doesn't think so.
The reason it's there is to create true free agency opportunities, to really give enough of a window of time for a player like DeAndre to think about it, understand all the different pitches and the different options, and then make the best decision for him.
Jordan re-signed yesterday with the Clippers 6 days after verbally committing to sign with the Mavericks. Mets rookie pitcher Steven Matz will be shut down for 3 weeks after an MRI revealed a partial tear of the lat muscle on his left side. Kenny Stabler holds the Raiders' career records for touchdown passes and passing yards. He died yesterday at the age of 69 following a bout with colon cancer. He was the quarterback when the Raiders won their first Super Bowl.
Hurry into Subway today for the new turkey and bacon guacamole. As if tender sliced turkey breast and crispy bacon weren't delicious enough, adding new Subway guacamole takes it to a whole new level. You gotta try it. Subway. Eat fresh.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix as we come back getting ready to cross the bull bottom, just the big daddy of destruction, the big daddy on the microphone. The guy who's happy to have you guys here, as I say all the time. J-Rocc with you, Jerry Myers. Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com is getting ready to join me here in just a moment. We're going to pick up where we left off here. We'll talk some Tribe, we'll talk some Cavs, we'll get into all of that with my man Mike. You guys can continue the conversation rolling with us on Facebook, on Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us thesportsfix@AOL.com, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. You can email us thesportsfix@AOL.com. And again, you know, I just laugh as I was reading over a couple of the emails that I got here behind the scenes from the Cavs and thinking about some stuff. You know what's funny is that nobody, well, I'll do it because I've got no problem pointing out the hypocrisy in the media, is I thought that LeBron James was holding the Cavs hostage. I thought that he wouldn't sign his contract until Tristan was taken care of, because last I checked, Tristan's still not taken care of. I'm telling you, if you guys listen to these idiots that just talk for the sake of hearing themselves talk, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, we all have this little thing inside at least most people have this little thing in their gut called a BS meter, and it goes off all the time. Disney may call it Jiminy Cricket. Some people have conscience. There's always something in your gut that lets you know. The problem is that people ignore that voice in their gut. All you got to do is when that goes, your BS meter should just ring 1,000,000%. Hey, real quick, something I wanted to bring up before I pull Mike up on the show. I love to talk to you guys off the air, and as you know, my man Bruce, he's a longtime listener, caller. He's in the chat room. He is doing the coolest thing he was telling me about with his car, and I just thought it was so awesome. Lots of people get their vehicles wrapped, and they'll put their business logos or different things on it. Bruce hit me up the other day and said, hey man, dropping off my car to get it wrapped. I said, oh cool, what are you doing? And I figured, because he had a baseball car before where he actually had it wrapped with the laces and it looked like a baseball because it was a white car. Man, he told me he had it wrapped with, it's the visage of different, it's like different players from the Indians and Cavs history, like a cool ass montage of players and moments and wrapped around the car. I can't wait to see the finished product, but I thought that was really, really cool, and I'm definitely I'll pass along some pictures of that when I see them, but that was right up my alley. I said, man, I gotta talk about this here on the show. I think that's pretty cool, man. Imagine seeing a car driving by you, and it's got Albert Bell swinging, maybe making the bicep on the front of the hood, and then you got, Omar diving out, and LeBron's on the trunk with the dunk, and all kinds of, that would be pretty nifty, man. My man Bruce is a hardcore Cleveland sports fan, that's for sure. Well, 2 out of the 3 ain't bad anyway. I won't say all Cleveland sports, but most of them anyway. Good stuff, and I will definitely share those pictures with you. Right now, I want to share my conversation with you with Mike Brandenberry. Let's get him up on the phones and see how he's doing this Friday. Mike, what's happening, my man?
Not much, J-Rocc. How are you? I'm ready. I got my homework assignment done from last week. I'm ready to play Let's Make a Deal.
All right, we're gonna get into that for sure. Are you all right? Are you froggy in the throat, or is that your connection there that's breaking up?
Maybe I was a little quiet. Is that better?
Nah, it's really fuzzy. I don't know. You may be in a bad spot, perhaps, because you sound like a little Kermit the Frog there, man. A little bit.
How about now?
It's not much better, but we'll make do with it for how it is. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I laugh when I hear you talk about all our national media pundits who had the Cavs dismantled, and yet it looks like everybody's coming back, and I'm enjoying summer. I'm ready to kind of move past NBA free agency, and let's get into the Indians, and then fall will be amongst us before we know it.
Oh, man, you don't sound surprised either that all those players came back. Isn't that funny how that worked out? And they added a buddy. They brought back the Mo-Flo, Mo Gotti, coming back to the queue, man. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Where are you at on that? I know where you are, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Obviously, they need one more piece, one more sharpshooter there, but I talked with JK about it. I'm all about Mo Gotti coming back deep in the queue.
Yeah, I like Mo. I mean, I didn't run off the road and start screaming yes, yes, yes when I heard that they signed him. But for the role that he hopefully is going to play, I think he's great. I heard, and I'm guesstimating the numbers that I heard the other day, but 2 years ago when he was in Portland, he played behind Damian Lillard, and he played 25 minutes and averaged just under 10 points and had 4 assists a night. Sign me up for that. I'll take that in a heartbeat. If that's what you get out of Mo Williams, I think that's great. He's a guy who can, make some offense for other guys, and he's a guy that can make some offense for himself too. Which, as guys got hurt and you saw at the end of the playoff run there, the only guy who could really create offense was LeBron James. And so the more guys that you have that can create some offense on their own, I mean, even if it's in just short spurts, I think is invaluable. So, I mean, adding a guy like Mo is great.
And you went 2 years back. I'll even just go to last year. He had the split season. He was in Minnesota coming off the bench, had the 52-point night, which shows, hey, I love Delly. Delly couldn't score 52 points in 3 nights put together at his best, and that's just honest. We saw that in the finals. Offensively, very limited. And I'm not necessarily saying that Mo Williams can score 50 points against the better defenses. My point is that that's a level that he doesn't have. But forget the one-night high. He averaged nearly 12.5 points a game in, as you said, was it 18, 20 minutes coming off the bench for Minnesota. Then when he got traded, he was starting in the second half of the season and jumped his average back up once his minutes went up a little over 17, very similar to his numbers that he had when he played here in Cleveland before. And as I mentioned with JK, I think that Mo, not only was he attractive because he was coming back home and he had been here before and he wanted to be a part of this, but the fact that he's not just a bench piece, if they need him, whether it's beginning, middle, or end of the season to start, he is an effective NBA starter, and the Cavs will not drop off as much as they did last year when they were without Kyrie Irving as far as running the point.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, Mo Williams is a guy who's perfect for the role that they need. They need Kyrie Irving insurance, and he provides a great insurance policy because, I know you guys touched on it listening to you and JK in your conversation. If for some reason Kyrie's not ready at the beginning of the season, or if you hit that stretch at some point during the year, either where you need to give a guy a night off. We've talked about that. Will they monitor minutes by, giving guys a night off here and there? Or, if you get a precautionary injury, it's a lot easier to sit a guy like Kyrie when you have a veteran like Mo Williams to step in. And I think that changes things a lot. And I think, to me, it speaks volumes when you have a guy like Mo Williams who's willing to come in on a lesser role to be a part of, hopefully something special in the Cavs. But he's certainly making a choice to come here and be a bench player, be a role player or some kind of insurance policy versus going somewhere like Charlotte where maybe he could start and put up, a little bit better numbers. And, anytime you can get a guy who thinks of everybody maybe before themselves, that's a guy you want to add to your roster.
Absolutely, and you made a great point. We talked about it with LeBron, and I know you're going to have, even though he's young, because of the injury issues and concerns, you may have to have this conversation about Kyrie Irving, which is, trying to limit the miles in the regular season. Obviously, you're talking about 10 years difference in age, 8 years or however much it is. So you do expect more, but that gives you the luxury of being able to rest Kyrie, whether it's one game a week or one game every other week. You may want to start Mo Williams just because. Same thing with LeBron. Once you build that depth, it becomes much easier to just give them their regular day off every 10 days or whatever it is, So I'm all about it, and as long as when you and I were texting, I think what you said was best. Mike said to me, hey, as long as there's still another move, whether it's J.R. Smith or somebody else, and that's what J.K. and I were saying. I think you just got to bring in one more guy, and I think J.R. Smith may have shot himself in the foot here financially if he wants. I know it is if he wants to come back to Cleveland. Maybe somebody else will give him the money that he would have made here, but he is not going to re-sign with the Cavs for the same amount of money. He should have took that almost $7 million option and done his free agency next year, wouldn't you think?
Probably. I don't know if anybody that is not a mathematician understands the collective bargaining agreement well enough to know that if JR can still re-sign for the 6 that he was entitled to, or what
he turned the option down.
He
already declined the option, so that is sure out of the way. Now they will have to negotiate. Yeah.
But I mean, in re-signing your own player, the Cavs are over the cap. Can they give him that much? I mean, I think because he's their own player, But I know they don't have his bird rights because you have to be a player, I think, for 2 or 3 years, which obviously he wasn't with the Cavs. So, I know they don't have their bird rights.
Sometimes bird rights get traded.
If he can only get a veteran exception or what. So, like I said, I think for the Cavs and for JR, I'd take JR back. I have no problem with JR. I think maybe what he's finding out is, one good spring doesn't erase, a dozen years of being a knucklehead around the league, and teams are leery. And I think he hurt some of that value in the finals for sure, because he's so streaky. I'm with you completely, whether it's J.R. Smith or someone. If we get to training camp and someone's telling me that the shooter off the bench is Mo Williams, I'm not going to be real happy with that.
I will say this. As hot as J.R. Smith can get. Mo Williams last season was about 40% from three. He wasn't that. I'm just saying his shooting percentage is not that off. And I believe the difference is you get more consistency out of one and you get more streakiness out of the other. Here's my whole problem with J.R. Smith in a nutshell. It's got nothing to do with basketball, to be honest with you. It's got to do with the fact that we saw him. Obviously the Cavs didn't win regardless, but had the Cavs been in a position to truly win those finals, even more than they were, he very easily made several mental mistakes that could have hurt the Cavs, did hurt them in the earlier rounds. That is my biggest fear. And if I'm the Cavs, that's the only thing I'm worried about bringing him back, is that does he make that mental mistake at the most crucial time and blow up a whole season's worth of work? Because he showed the ability to do that by not thinking all the time on the court.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. And I think he dangerously skated that line at the end of the Boston series. You can say whatever you want about Kelly Olynyk and what happened in Game 4, but don't ever lose sight of the fact, and I think this is something that you'll see the Cavs be much more improved on this year, but they lost their mental composure in that game. When Kevin Love got hurt, they got frustrated long before the game was ever over. They knew that they had lost a piece of their puzzle and that things were very questionable. We can debate for hours, J.R. Smith's intentions and what he did at the free throw line. But one thing I don't know that anybody can argue over is he did something. And he did something that wasn't a basketball move. And he lost his composure, and it almost cost the Cavs because they did lose a game to Chicago, and I think that was a big reason as to why in Game 1, trying to compensate for, life without Kevin Love, but also without J.R. Smith. And, had they lost Game 2, I'm not sure that they rebound and find a way to win that series, to win 4 out of 5. That's just the way that the series go. I think it would have been too far to run uphill. So, all of that combined with his previous history, he's a risk. So, I'm not opposed to bringing him back, but I see all the warning signs and all the reasons to be cautious too, and I think the Cavs do. I think that's why the Cavs are. I think the Cavs are pretty much in the boat of, hey, if you can find a better deal, show us and we'll talk. And right now, there's no rumors of filling the blank team is talking to J.R. Smith. So until somebody else is honing in on your girl, there's no reason to think she's leaving town.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, just now that the first wave is cleared out, J.R. Smith's name is starting to rise up on some people's lists, but he's clearly in that next tier. Speaking of free agency, and I'm just curious, obviously you're a big Cavs guy, so maybe you're kind of just watching this from the perimeter. All the focus has been on the big signings, a lot of them out in the West. With Aldridge and with the DeAndre Jordan stuff and a lot of jockeying amongst those top teams in the West. In the East, you've got a couple of teams. It almost feels to me that the majority of the Eastern Conference is qualifying the next few years for the Cavs and saying, hey, it just seems, am I wrong, or does it seem like not a lot in the East has bolstered themselves? What are your thoughts of that? Am I seeing something different than you are? But, I mean, who do you think has strengthened themselves to where – who are the Cavs' main competition now in the East? I mean, obviously Atlanta's going to be there, but they're changing things around. Chicago, to me, would be the strongest simply because, they're still a solid core, but they've got a new coach coming in. There's changes everywhere. Washington lost Pierce, who I thought helped them a bit, even though he's older. What do you think about the East and the way free agency is shaken out so far?
I agree with everything you said. I really thought that, if I was a team, and I guess I don't know their financial situation, but if I was a team like, say, the Milwaukee Bucks, or even to a lesser degree, maybe the Toronto Raptors or the Washington Wizards, if I was one of those teams that were kind of a middle of the road playoff team this year, I would have tried to make a big play to get someone in. And I guess if you want to say the Raptors getting DeMauri Carroll to play, I mean, I guess that's not my biggest idea of a big play, but I guess comparatively to everyone else it was. But I agree with you. Not to look too far into the future, but the thing that scares me the most is we know all this money and all this cap space is coming to these teams. And the thing that scares me the most is I feel like the Miami Heat can fix themselves fast once they're afforded a whole bunch of cap space. And, of course, it's a luxurious and popular place to live. My fear was when LaMarcus Aldridge took a meeting with them. That was my worst nightmare come true, is that he somehow signed there. So as everyone continues to do nothing, I feel like making the leap to a contender, maybe not a team that can beat the Cavs, but a team that can push the Cavs, a team that can really run some interference. I don't feel like it's that hard to run out of that scrum. I'll be honest, part of me is kind of surprised to see the Pacers so quickly trade Roy Hibbert. I mean, that's a team that was the number one seed 2 years ago, and their best player broke his leg. I mean, to me, that's a quiet dark horse to kind of come out of nowhere for next year and be a team that can kind of mix it up in the East.
Oh, I agree. Everything you said, I'm in agreement with, and it's funny because the couple teams you listed, I mean, they're the ones that are, I'll be honest, with Chicago, I would say Toronto, Atlanta, maybe, I don't know what they're going to be, but, Toronto and Washington, I mean, those are the teams, and that's nothing to strike fear, and this isn't me being, hey, we're Cleveland, but I mean, seriously, it just appears that not much in the East is primed, and I think it may be because of what you're talking about, too, is many teams are like, you know what, we'll let the Cavs go ahead and stack up this year, and let them go ahead, and they're going to have a run anyway. LeBron's motivated, but 2 years from now, 1 year now, here coming removed from the things going up and all that, we'll make our move. The Heat, funny you mentioned them, that's the place that I think J.R. Smith goes if it's not coming back to Cleveland. I could truly see him ending up going down there and playing. They need somebody to shoot the lights out down there. They got to space things out a little bit, and plus they wouldn't mind sticking it to Cleveland. I could totally see the Heat being a prime landing spot for a J.R. Smith if he doesn't come back to Cleveland.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, and JR likes him some nightlife too. So
he'll lay some pipe in Miami, that's for sure, man. So the pipe may be coming down to South Beach. I want to just throw something out here, and I'm not getting on these guys. They all got to make their money, but it's something we talked about before. Everybody wants their max contract. LeBron wants his max contract. Kevin Love wants his. Kyrie wants his. Meanwhile, Tim Duncan signs his new contract this morning with San Antonio. He's making $5.2 million next year and $5.6 million player option for the next season. Those are the types of things somewhere, maybe not right now, but in the next year or two, that the Cavs players are going to have to do to keep this thing going, because there is a limit to how high. It's easy to spend Dan Gilbert's money, and he's going to make enough of it to spend it for him, but the bubble breaks at some point, and that's the only thing is when I go back and look at those Spurs, and hey, they've won some rings. So once the Cavs can win something, then maybe guys' priorities start to change and they want to keep it together. But that's the only thing that makes me scratch my head is that these guys, they want to win, they want their window, they want all their friends to come here and play together. That's great, but you can't do it when everybody makes $25 million.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate to that, Jerry. I see what you're saying, and I understand where you're going. And it's always nice when you hear an athlete take less so that everybody else can make more, and that's all good. But let's look at other situations in sports. I mean, you got a guy like Anderson Varejao who is sacrificed and sacrificed and sacrificed. He signed a contract a year ago, albeit he's making more. Certainly more than the $5 million commitment that Tim Duncan
he's
signed
making
for.
10. He's double that.
But
double
the Cavs turn around and within 12 months of signing that, they're ready to ship him off to basketball Siberia if it betters their roster. And I don't blame the Cavs for doing that either.
See, I got to be honest with you though, real quick. That's one of those media things that I have talked to some people, and I'm just saying, from what I was told, there was nothing to that except media speculation. I was told that and this isn't like, oh, well, protecting themselves. I was talking to somebody. The Cavs did not in any way engage in any conversations about Varejao. That was one where people looked at the contracts and said, oh, Varejao would be the best fit here for the Cavs to make this move, and it just kind of became known as fact. I'm just going to throw that out there. They're not jumping up and down to dunk it.
I think he's the only guy that made the money work.
That's it. That's the problem. Yeah, he's the only one people could get to make that fit. But I know what you're saying. I know where you're going.
But there's very little. If you learn anything from this week from DeAndre Jordan, there's very little loyalty in sports from anyone. Okay?
Hell no, not anymore.
You're as loyal as your next paycheck, and I think that's on both sides. And I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think anybody has to apologize for that. When there's millions and billions involved, I think you're entitled to hold out to get as much of a pie as you want to get. And if you're willing to give some back, I'll be the first one to stand up and applaud you. But I'm never going to condemn you for trying to get as much as you possibly can.
Mike,
if I was ever in a predicament where I could negotiate a contract and get a sizable raise, I'd go for it.
Mike, I agree, and I'm not condemning individual guys for getting what they can either. But my point is kind of a larger one, is do you have a team full of guys who are looking out for number one? Because if you do, that's fine on an individual level, but you will not have the sustained run that you want to have and that San Antonio has, because the makeup of the guys you have will not be conducive to making that work. I agree that it takes a certain kind of guy to be Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and say, hey, here's a few million back to the salary cap so that we can sign LaMarcus Aldridge or so that we can sign this guy or that guy. Well, but you got to have a few of those.
Ways, I think
that's all I'm saying.
Work out. In some ways, I think some of that will work out because Kyrie and Kevin Love's deals are going to look like hometown discounts in
once
a couple
the
years.
salary cap jumps up. Yeah. But let me ask you, doesn't their money change? Doesn't their money change, though, Mike? When just like these deals that they signed actually changed after a couple of days once the salary cap was re-signed. If you've agreed to a max deal, then every year as the max deal goes up, doesn't your contract adjust? Or I'm not totally sure how the economics works on that.
I don't know about that. I'll be honest. The thing I've learned the most about the NBA and the salary cap this summer is I have two daughters that are 3 and 1, and I want them to get really, 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 really good in math, because I think being an NBA capologist is like, if you can understand the CPA and then work the numbers, I think that's better job security than maybe even some of the players. You're not going to make as much money as those guys, but you'll be around forever if you can figure that out. So, I think that's what I've learned the most out of this entire summer. I want my kids to be really good in math so that they can just run NBA salary caps.
Real quick before we switch off the topic, for you guys that have been listening the entire episode here, we were talking with Jonathan Knight earlier about the Mavericks and DeAndre Jordan and all that. Here is some of the backside of that coming out now, and this is what I'm saying. That to me, the Mavericks have a legitimate case to complain to the NBA, because instead of announcing right now that they signed DeAndre Jordan, number one, in order to get Wesley Matthews, because to be fair, they gave him the chance to get out of his contract because he only agreed to come as, thinking they were going to have DeAndre Jordan too. So they kicked him some extra money. His deal is now $70 million. They added about another $10 million to his contract to make him happy enough to stay. And they just completed a trade for Zach Pachulia as their new veteran center. A bit of a drop-off from DeAndre Jordan, or even being able to trade for, say, a Roy Hibbert or something like that. So, man, I'm telling you, if I'm the Mavericks, boy, if that happened to the Cavs, you guys here in Cleveland would have what I'm saying here, because to me, that's a pretty shady turn of events there, and it really did handcuff the Dallas Mavericks in their free agency here for this entire season coming up.
Yeah, I'll give you a prediction, Jerry. In 2 years from now, the Mavericks will have the last laugh on this week. They're mad and they're sore, and they should be. They have every right to be for all the reasons you guys talked about. The old cliche that the best deal is the one you didn't make. They may send DeAndre Jordan a Christmas card in Christmas 2017 and say, "Man, I really hope you're loving LA because we're loving it for you."
Oh, man. Yeah, you think, hey, you know what? A lot of times, too, I mean, big men are priceless commodities, but when they go south, they usually look at Roy Hibbert. Roy Hibbert went from being one of the top big men in the game, and everybody was all on Roy Hibbert, and now they're giving him away for, what, a second round pick to the Lakers or something? They couldn't get somebody to take Roy Hibbert off their hands, man, and that'll show you how quickly, especially with the league changing. But I like DeAndre Jordan. He's a guy, boy, I would have loved that's a guy.
He's a 7-foot-tall J.R. Smith. That's what he is. He's a knucklehead.
I hear you there, man, but, his talent is definitely top shelf as far as that. But you are right, and that's one of the reasons that he was so quick to leave L.A. is because he felt that he had matured. I read an interesting article about his perspective on free agency, and he felt more than offense, more than where do I fit basketball-wise, his biggest problem with the Clippers was that he felt the organization, and I don't know if he's a knucklehead still or not. I don't know. I don't see the guy on a day-to-day basis. But you and I both know that a lot of times, whether it's in families, people talk about being the black sheep. When people look at you a certain way and you feel that you've changed or what you were, and his biggest problem was he felt the Clippers still looked at him as a knucklehead coming into the draft out of college and having all these issues, and he felt that they were shortchanging him as far as how far he's come as a person and as an athlete. And I could dig that. Sometimes you got to leave home. I know somebody in Cleveland's going, well, what about LeBron? But sometimes you do got to leave and make your own name. And then, so I thought that was a lot of it, is he just felt like, hey, I'm always going to be screw up DeAndre Jordan as far as these guys are concerned, so I'm going to go somewhere else.
Well, we'll see. I've been wrong before on a lot of things. I'm reminded of all the things I'm wrong on daily, but we'll see. I think a couple years from now, he'll still just be a knucklehead.
Yeah, we'll see. And speaking of reminding you about things you're wrong about, I hope that 3 months from now I'm doing this about the Indians, man, because they've still got the second half to go. Now we're going to have some fun with this. By the way, I said it earlier. Did you take a shot when Jonathan Knight said it's still early in the season? Because I said, boy, Mike's taking a drink right now when John said that, man.
Yeah, well, it's not early.
He didn't say it in that regard. He meant as far as you can't call this weekend a crucial series because it's still so early in the season. But as soon as the words came out of his mouth, I go,
I disagree. I think this is a crucial series, and I'll tell you why.
I agree. I agree with you. Go ahead, but I'm with you. I think that this is
it's for all the it's early people. Okay, if it's still early for you, take your resume on down to the corner of Carnegie in Ontario, because they have some lovely PR jobs awaiting you. But I think that this weekend is huge because they're 3 games from 500, and I'll go so far as to say I feel like this is a weekend that if they're going to get out of pretension if they're going to make the second half run that all the if early people are telling me that they're going to make, I really feel like you got to sweep, and I'll tell you why. JK kind of touched on it and said, hey, if you get to 500 at the All-Star break and you know, let's just make believe in 3 days or 4 days they sweep, and Sunday night, you know, we'll all be rolling out the laundry list of all the things that have gone wrong. You know, Jan Gomes getting hurt, Michael Brantley getting hurt, the fifth starter, you know, debacle of the first 2 months before Cody Anderson showed up. You know, we'll all have our list of all the things that they've played through. And we'll say, and here they are at 500. Okay, well, that's good. But you know what that means? That means they got to go 44-30 in the last 74 games to get to 88 wins. That gets you close to a playoff spot, Jerry. 14 games over 500. I'm not saying it's impossible, but 14 games over 500 in 74 games, that's pretty tough. And that's provided that is provided that they sweep this weekend first. So essentially, you need to play 17 games over 500 from right now if you want to get to 88 wins. And 88 doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot. That may just set you up for a weekend of heartbreak in October.
I agree with what you just said. Another reason, and JK touched a little bit with us on this when we were talking about this weekend, is yet the Indians coming in pretty warm right now. They've taken 8 of 11, all against winning teams here. But Oakland is equally the opposite side as cold. They've dropped 8 of 13 coming in here. They've offensively, they've had a very tough stretch. They haven't been able to hit well with runners in scoring position, but they have had good pitching, much similar to the Indians. You know, Oakland coming in 10 games under 500, and I agree with you. I think it's a chance for the Indians to A, get some things going heading into the break, and B, show the hometown fans that we can win some games here at home too, and it's okay to buy a ticket and come on out and watch them, because that's always the catch-22 of this, is even when they've gotten rolling this year, it's all been on the road, and that's part of why I'm happy that at least so far, the 3 out of 4 here with this series coming, you gotta have some success at home too, because that's going to be a big part in not just winning on the field, but getting the atmosphere going. And I mean, you can't win. You can't go 14 games over 500 in the second half playing in front of, you know, pigeons and the sound of silence over there at Progressive Field, you know?
Well, I mean, and we touched on this a little bit last week. This team right now on July 9th or 10th, whatever today is, the 10th, this team is better than it was, you know, 6 weeks ago, and it's certainly better than it was on May 1st or April 1st. The moves that they've made, you know, albeit all internal moves, this team is better because of it. And you know, the realist in me says they're not going to play 17 games over 500 for the rest of this season. But you know, the optimist in me says this team is better. And I don't know that they're that much better, but, you know, the teams in front of them are starting, you know, some of them are struggling. I think this is, you know, maybe the year where the wheels finally come off the tracks for the Tigers, and there's part of me that thinks that the Twins can't keep it tied together for the entire season. And if that happens, to me, all that means is that the door is open for Cleveland to walk through. They still have to play well enough to walk through it. You know, they can all fall on their faces. Just because the teams in front of them stumble doesn't mean that the Indians are going to trend upward. But I think the possibility is there. I don't think that it is anywhere near easy. And because they went on a run 2 years ago doesn't mean that it's going to happen again. But they're certainly a better team today than I would say than they've been at any point throughout the season.
For sure. And so let's go right there, because I know what you want to talk about. You sent me a couple of homework links here this morning, and actually I had already read the EHC article about the center fielders that the Indians may be out there to pursue, because for, you know, as much of the talk about you know, Bourne and Swisher and all of that, move Nick Swisher out of the conversation, because I mean, obviously, and you sent me some good stuff that you guys did on didthetribewinlastnight.com about the the defensive issues. I understand. I mean, you said at the beginning of the season, if the Indians could just get to where they've been, which is, just the bottom third of the league, that's still an improvement from where they were, because 2008 is the last time they were above 24th, I believe, in the league defensively. And as you said, with Urshela, with Lindor, you've seen the improvement already. But one of the biggest problems, I know you guys pointed out the pitchers in there, although to me, I hear you, but 6 earned runs given away over the course of 80 games, it's not a game changer to me, but, obviously.
Well, when you only score 2.5 runs a game.
Well, it is. I get you. No.
Two wins.
I know where you're going, and every win counts.
Don't tell me wins don't matter when you've got to play 17.
Oh, wins matter, brother. Trust me, wins matter, and I'm with you. But my point is much more concerning than the fielding of the pitchers. And I think the biggest spot is the outfield, center field specifically. And I mean, we've talked about Michael Bourne, and for all the intention, and I was hopeful as hell. I got much respect for somebody that is fighting the father time, fighting the game, whatever it is, and working to get better. And I thought he did that this off season. But you make a great point. I mean, it didn't. Clearly, he's not winning the battle. He's gone in 2 seasons from one of the better, speedier center fielders in the game to the worst. And that is a problem that is really hurting the Indians still right now.
Yeah, so for anyone that wasn't listening to us last week, which I can't possibly imagine.
I mean, why would they not listen?
Listening. I assume that everyone listens. But anyways, for anyone that wasn't listening last week, we talked about near at the end, I said, we talked about trades as we get to July and the trade deadline, and I said the Indians really don't have a lot to trade off. They don't have a lot to sell. So, and I said, so to me, as down as I am or as pessimistic as I am on this roster, it's obviously if you're not going to sell, then what are the options to buy? And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Chris Antonetti fan of all time, but I will always credit him, even if it didn't work out as well as we wanted. I will always credit him for the Ubaldo Jimenez trade because people begged, pleaded, and wanted, John Hart and at times Mark Shapiro to go the extra mile to trade whoever was a popular prospect at that time to put the Indians over the top. And Chris Antonetti made that gamble. And I think, the reason he made that gamble on Ubaldo was he was a guy that they were going to control for the next 2.5 years. It wasn't a 3-month rental. And obviously, I mean, it didn't work out the way that they wanted. But I've always credited him for that. And I've always thought, one, you can't say that the guy's not a risk taker. And 2, I think that if or when there would be a situation similar to that, I think he would strongly consider making that kind of gamble again. And this team right now that has a core moving forward, I think that if the opportunity presented itself in the next couple weeks, I could see him making that same type of similar gamble. And that's kind of where I tweeted the links right before the start of your show. And the things that I outlined at the beginning of the week is that defensively, this team has been a mess. And not to go through every word, and a lot of it we've talked about already, good teams are built up the middle. And from a standpoint of behind the plate at catcher, both Yan Gomes and Roberto Perez are average to above average defenders defensively. Francisco Lindor is a very small sample size, but I mean, has been a phenomenal defender his entire professional career. It's what his big league career is going to be built around. He will be a good offensive player. He's going to be a great defender. Speaking of one of the areas where I'm wrong, a guy that I've been critical of at times, and especially defensively, is Jason Kipnis. And there was a lot of people that pointed to his injury last year and said that was part of his poor defense. And my counter to that before the season was, well, he was poor defensively before he was hurt. And that's true. He has always been a poor defender at second base until this year. He is actually in the top third, Jerry. You can actually make it's a pretty easy argument that Jason Kipnis, for the whole of the season, is the Indians' best defensive player. That has nothing to do with what he does at the plate. He's their best defensive player at this point. So if you're building a good team up the middle, there's only one area that vastly needs improved at this point. And I mean, Urshela, even if you're not looking up the middle, Urshela is an improvement. And honestly, Lonnie Chisenhall, he wasn't sent down, believe it or not, because of poor defense. He was playing average defense. He was sent down because he can't hit. Brandon Moss plays a solid right field. Michael Brantley is below average in left, and I think you can live with that for the offensive production that you get. So your two defensively at this point are center field and first base. And a couple of weeks ago, we kind of went down the Carlos Santana trap and argument. So I think we're all in agreement that center field can be improved. And so my story, the first one that I sent out at the beginning of your show, kind of just tries to demonstrate that one, if you're ever going to be an average defense as a team, they've got to improve center field. You can't fool yourself into believing everything that I just laid out and that you can be an average defense and have a terrible center fielder. And I'm sorry, but at this point, that's what Michael Bourne is. And if you're of the belief that Michael Brantley can do an adequate job, that's just not true. And the stats are there to prove he's a hair better in center field than Michael Bourne. And I mean a hair. He's not good, okay? So you have to improve the position. And my homework assignment, or in my mind last week, was if you're going to improve this team, I think the one of the easiest ways to improve it is to try and improve it both defensively and offensively in center field. And I don't even know that for this discussion we need to go down what do you do with Michael Bourne? Let's just forget about that for a minute, and let's just go center field shopping. And as I was about to kind of do that, Jim Pete from Everybody Hates Cleveland posted a story with 9, and he actually includes 10 center fielders that could make the Indians better. And he and I did a podcast about a month ago for Tribe Time Now, and all kidding aside, I think we just do our own show ever since then that just he and I listen to via Twitter and direct messaging and texting and emails. It's like an ongoing dialogue, but we've actually even come up with another one or two, I think, that are possibilities. And I think if you read Jim's article, he gives you 10 guys, and I know he and I talked this morning about an 11th one, and I'm happy to talk about any of the ones that you want to talk about. I think the biggest thing for me, there are guys on the list that I like, and there are guys on Jim's list that I don't like. And I think the easiest thing to point out, and what the average fan doesn't realize, is, man, it is really, really hard to make a trade, because while it sounds easy that Jim gave us 10 or 11 guys that would make the Indians better, I look at it, contractually, his favorite guy is Cameron Maybin. And I would say, as much as I like Jim's story, I totally disagree with that, because I don't like Cameron Maybin. He's only a little bit better over his career than Michael Bourne defensively. And he's signed for the next couple years, I believe through 2017. He makes $8 million next year and $9 million the year after that. That's a lot of money for just a marginal increase. If I'm putting $8 or $9 million into a guy, I want it to be a substantial improvement. And we know with the Indians, no matter what anyone ever tells us, it's all about the money. So if you're going to put $8 million, that's a tenth of your payroll, of your budget, or, maybe 8 or 9%. That's tough for me to put in. But there are other guys on that list that I like. My personal favorite is number 2 is Ben Revere, but there are other guys too.
Yeah, Ben Revere, I was going to ask you about him because he's got some speed. He's got range defensively. I mean, he definitely fills the spots exactly that that Michael Bourne doesn't. What is his contract status as far as going forward? He's got 2 years, 3 years, right?
Yeah. He's entering the arbitration zone, and so at this point, we kind of have to guesstimate as to what he would make.
But that's a new Baldo contract there, right? That's right around that level where he was hitting that area, but you still had 2 years or so of control, right?
Yes, and the Indians, I believe, would potentially have his control for 3 more years. And the things that I like about Ben Revere, first of all, Jim and I were talking about him on Twitter one day, and some other people were kind of jumping into the conversation, and they were, I don't want to say putting him down, but were, I guess, it's so hard with only 140 characters to get any kind of tone involved or anything. But I think people thought that I was making him out to be more than what he is. I don't think he's a superstar, but what I do like about him is, one, he would be the Indian center fielder. He's a speedy guy. I think you could hit him second or more likely ninth, and you could use him with Kipnis and Lindor and Brantley in some way to create a 9-1-2-3 of some speedy guys who run well, who handle the bat, who can make some things happen. Okay, I think I like that he's a team control player, and I think also maybe the bigger conversation in the center field problem is, I think the Indians feel as if maybe they are a year, maybe year and a half away from their center fielder, and that it's probably Bradley Zimmer. And if it's not Bradley Zimmer, maybe another year behind that it's Clint Frazier. And I don't want to tell everyone to hang on tight for 2 or 3 years until those guys are really ready. But when it's always about the money, like it is with the Indians, it's hard to go out and make a huge splash to cover up a huge splash when you feel like you have someone coming in that may be, for the league minimum a year or 2 down the road. The thing I like about Revere is he can also play the corners and has. I mean, he's played left field well. He's played right field well. And I think, especially on this roster that always talks about flexibility, if you had Ben Revere, he would be your center fielder now, and he could potentially either be your 4th outfielder or he could shift to either corner maybe later. I mean, I don't think that Brandon Moss is going to be here forever. So, I mean, the door is going to open for other possibilities to happen, and I think he kind of creates some of that flexibility. So that's kind of why I like Ben Revere. I think the other biggest, maybe the biggest reason is I think he could be had without
you can get him. Yeah, right. Yeah, you can actually go get him. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is what do you have to give up, and some of the guys on Jim's list, that's the number one thing I don't like is I don't want to give up what I think it would take to get some of those guys. But Ben Revere, I mean, I expect in the next 3 weeks that the Phillies are going to go wholesale, fire sale, blow everything up, and so I think they're going to tear it down, blow it up, and try to get as young as possible. And, Jim has in his story that, there was a deal rumored in place with Tampa Bay for a relief pitcher, and the Indians have quality relief pitchers at AA and AAA that they can. I would deal any of them today, and wish them well to get Ben Revere, and not because I'm in love with Ben Revere as much as I don't want to watch Michael Bourne play center field anymore.
I agree with that. That last sentence I agree with 100%. Really, the whole list of guys that Jim put together, and of course we're talking about everybodyhatescleveland.com, of all of them, I mean, it was Revere and Billy Burns was the other one on the list that I said, okay, I like where we're going here. I could see what he could do. But, I mean, to me, and you brought it up, that was something that he talked about there in the article about Revere, is that I think the best thing is that you can actually go out there and get him. I mean, most of this list is either guys I wouldn't want or guys that the Indians can't get. I mean, Austin Jackson is now, to me, like that's Kendrys Morales. That's Josh Willingham. That's that name that's been out there, and if you got him 5 years ago, you made a good deal. But I don't have any interest nowadays. He's a lot more of a name of reputation than what he's got. But I definitely liked Burns out of Oakland, and then obviously getting him would be the way to figure that out. But man, that's
Billy
a young
Burns.
guy.
Billy Burns is a guy I like, but Billy Burns, I feel like and I think Jim wrote this right in there, you're buying high on right now.
Right, because he's playing so well, and yes.
And I'm afraid to buy high for that reason, because I think you'd be let down later. And what concerns me is, I mean, Billy Beane will trade anybody, but Billy Beane doesn't miss very often. I hate to say that, and so I'm leery always to trade with that guy because he doesn't miss very often. So if he's willing to trade something, and we don't even know necessarily that he is, but if he's willing to trade, you're either overpaying or he knows something that you don't know.
Yep.
And so that makes me nervous, and my fear is that they would have to overpay. And I think a lot of guys on the list I like. One of the guys that you mentioned I kind of like, but I'll give you the drawback to. You said you don't like is Austin Jackson, and I like Austin Jackson if you thought you were really in it, and obviously I don't. And if you are the optimist that really truly believes that the Indians are in it, I mean, I think Austin Jackson is a guy that can make this team better this year, and I think you could get him probably without giving up a mountain because he's a free agent at the end of the season.
But he's Michael Bourne. I mean, Jim made a great point, man. Austin Jackson, to me, is Michael Bourne the year before we signed him. You know what I mean?
Well, that may be, but if you're only renting him for 3 months,
for 3 months, yes,
on next year.
And that's a good point. That's a great point.
His agent is Scott Boras, so I mean, if you want to pretend that they're going to extend him, stop pretending because you're not going to. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So I mean, I think you could get him on the cheap for at a rental player price. I think you could get him for lower level minor league players. But personally, and maybe this is where I disagree with some other people, I would have a hard time giving up lower level minor league players when you're not even to 500 because he's not coming back because his agent is Scott Boras. That's a 3-month rental if you make that trade today. And to me, whatever you're giving up, you're buying fool's gold because I don't think that the Indians are contenders this year. So guys whose contracts are up soon, I mean, personally, I wouldn't make those deals because I'm not a believer that this team is just one player from being a playoff team. But I would be more open to, kind of where I started with the Chris Antonetti trade for a guy who is a couple of years under team control. But that's going to cost you more players for sure. And so then you're going to be talking about, giving up, somebody like an Eric Gonzalez who has just been moved to AAA. I think in the right deal, I think the Indians would consider it. I think they definitely feel as if, they may have the core of their infield in place, and Eric Gonzalez is a good infielder. I think that's a guy that in the right deal they would consider, but I don't think they're just going to toss him out there willy-nilly either.
Let me jump in real quick.
Team that's looking to make a trade.
Something that you just said, though, and I do disagree with you here, but I want to make sure that people understand what I mean. I don't want to use any specific names because I do agree that they're not one specific player. Like, hey, man, that's the piece that puts it all together. But I do believe that they're close enough that, and again, I'm trying to say this the way I mean it. I don't mean one specific player by name, but I don't think there's that many glaring holes. I know they've got look, every team is a work in progress as far as I'm concerned, except a couple here in baseball. But I do believe that you can make this team a playoff team. When I'm talking about a World Series team, I'm talking about getting to the playoffs. I don't think it's more than a tweak perhaps at one spot or two in the lineup, one position or two in the field. So I don't think they're one specific, hey, you go get Austin Jackson, we're going. And I don't believe that at all. But I don't believe that they got to overhaul 5 positions either to be a playoff team. I believe the pitching is strong enough that you tweak the lineup, you get another consistent bat in there, and you shore up something in the outfield, and they definitely are. So that's, I think, where we differ.
I don't think we're that far apart. I would say that they're more than one, but I agree with you. Finished with saying I don't think they need to overhaul their lineup. I think they need to do more than find a center fielder. Personally, not to run back down the Santana hole again, but they've got to get more production out of first base. And I'll couple Brandon Moss with that. I think however you want to shake it, whether it's Carlos Santana just got to play better or whatever you want, I think those are the 3 positions. You take all the numbers up, you add them up, and you give me the production combined of center field, right field, and first base. The Indians got to get more out of that. And I'll even in a lesser degree toss in catcher for this season only because Yan Gomes has really struggled. And I think at this point we're all to believe that he's going to get it going. But I mean, I think long term, from a production standpoint, I think there's 3 clear spots where they've got to get more offense than what they're getting right now.
I'll tell you what, while we wrap this up, last night's game, I don't know if you guys caught it during the TV broadcast, and most of the time I listen to the radio, but I was listening to the TV guys, and I'm not going to lie, they're not my favorite announcers. I'll just be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Indians television announcers, and but I was listening to them last night, and they made a
loves those guys.
Hush your mouth, man, and they made I will say this, Manning made a good point first off about the fact that for every 10 deadline deal trades, maybe 1 works out and helps get the team over the hump and where they wanted to go. 9 out of 10, sometimes 10 out of 10 don't move the needle much whatsoever. And that's why you gotta caution against going out there and, like you said, making a big price for a short-term rental. But I got a kick out of, hey, to me, Matt Underwood's the worst homer announcer in the world. And there was an interesting dynamic because Manning's a little more, at least I think he speaks his mind more sometimes. Not much. They both kind of speak what the front office wants them to speak. But Manning said, hey, man, I don't think the Indians are going to be buying, man. They look like sellers. He started throwing names out there. He's like, yep, I could see him moving Murphy. I could see him moving Aviles. Meanwhile, Underwood is sitting there silent because he's not even jumping in on this conversation at all. And you could almost feel the silence where he's like, hey, man, you go ahead and say what you want, man. I'm not even going to touch any of this, man. How you going to get out there and tell? You can feel it. Like I could see the front office going, hey, man, we don't need to tell people that we're going to be, But it was funny because Underwood just went silent for about 45 seconds. He didn't even chip in with a, yeah, you're right. He just said, I'm not touching this at all because I like to get my paycheck every week. But it was an interesting little dynamic. But that little fact is a good one there because, in all honesty, most deadline deals don't move the needle, and I think the one that would for the Indians would be an under-the-radar one like we're talking about that changes the speed, the dynamic more than just, hey, we went and traded for this big name or whatever.
Yeah, Rick's going to get a note in
you know it.
Mail.
You know it because Underwood was like, I'm not saying. Did you hear it?
Yeah. Somebody's scratching that down on a pad.
You can't speculate. I've never heard
Rick in the morning about this
Bro, I've heard announcers speculate about guys you could bring into your team, but I've very rarely, and I can't recall off the top of my head, hearing a home team announcer speculate names that you may be trading away, to me, isn't that kind of a faux pas? Because, I mean, if I'm David Murphy and I'm watching the replay of that game, I'm going, damn, do the announcers know something that I don't know here? Why are they saying I may get traded? I mean, for the media to speculate, that's one thing. But I thought I'm like, man, Manning just threw those names out there. And I'm like, boy, the front office cannot like that.
Well, I agree. And I'm gonna quickly double back to what we were talking about, and then I'm going to use what you just said to almost set up some things we talk about for next week. But if you want to under the radar name, that a guy that I actually like in conversation with Jim, I know he's not as high on. He is on his list, and I think most fans, if the Indians made this deal and this was their deadline deal, I think the average Indians fan would go nuts for all the obvious reasons, because his offensive numbers aren't very good. But a guy that I think you could
Grady Sizemore.
That has what's that? Well, yeah.
I'm messing with you. Go ahead. Who do you got? Who do you got?
The guy that I think you could get on the cheap and really still has a chance to grow is Jackie Bradley Jr. from the Boston Red Sox. And I know most people would flip. And if you look at his offensive numbers, there's not a lot there to get excited about. But he's also still young, and he's a guy that I think possibly has been rushed to the big leagues, that maybe gets out of the pressure cooker of Boston, maybe finds a new life. I mean, we've talked about guys before that just kind of need a change of scenery, and I could see him being a change that you talked about. I know we're running short on time, but something I want to talk about next week is the Indians are really closing in on a point, whether it be in the next 3 weeks or in the next 6 months, where if they want to keep this team together, they're going to either have to spend more money, or they're going to have to open their eyes to the idea that they're going to have to make a move and trade a player that maybe the average fan is not comfortable with, because the dollars and cents say that they're not going to continue to keep this core together on an $85 million payroll. So I think that opens the door to either you make a trade now in the next couple weeks before the deadline, or I think it's really on the table come winter.
You know what? And that's where we're going to pick up next week. You brought up Bradley, and my problem with him, you talked about his struggles offensively, and I don't want to just curse him with this name, but, if you think of a guy like Laporta, a guy that you kept going, boy, this is when he's going to turn it on. And I know this is a younger guy and still, but, I mean, he'd be coming in worse offensively than Michael Bourne is, even though defensively and hey, man, the offense already isn't there from Michael Bourne, so you're already improving the equation. I get that by going defensive upgrade, but offensively, you worry, is he what do you say, Laporta? You throw out a Chisenhall, that guy that in the minors he just tears it up, and you're waiting for him to flip that switch offensively. But then again, too, he's very young, so that's like a really long-term proposition. And if you want to believe that the Indians have one or two guys coming up in the next 2 seasons or so, then that might not be something they're interested in doing. But then again, that becomes an asset you could flip as well. I don't know. There's stuff to talk about there.
Well, that's the thing that I like about him, is I think he would have about a year to a year and a half window there to either prove that he is a guy to become part of that core, or if he finds his way into the Matt Laporta zone, then you have his replacement by then ready by, maybe the end of 2016, headed into 2017.
Well, let's talk about some of this next week. We'll have an idea how they came out of this homestand here and how close to or far away from 500 they are and all that. So let's jump down that path and continue to talk about ways that the Indians can salvage this summer and make it perhaps at least a run at what people hoped it would be.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like I've brought a lot of positive Indians vibes the last 2 weeks. I'm probably going to crush some hearts next week.
Come on now, Mike. We've been doing good. We've been doing good, man. Come on. Keep up the positive momentum.
What you're doing to me. I tell you this all the time. When I have a troubled student in class, I try to give them praise and make him feel good about what he's doing. I see what you're doing to me, but it's not working, okay?
Hey, it's not just me. All you got to do is watch Cody Anderson pitch a couple times. All you got to do is watch how they play when they're at their best and go, damn it. Yeah, EC3 was on the other day, and he goes, frustrating. I said, stop right there. That's the best word to describe them, because when they're good, they're great. And when they're bad, they're awful. And if they can get in the middle.
I absolutely agree with that completely.
You know?
And I think that is what is so frustrating about them, because when they're at their best, they look like the team that we all dream they can be. And when they're at their worst, I'd rather watch the grass grow in my backyard.
Hopefully they can stay at their best a little bit longer. Hopefully this is not just a hot 2 weeks here. And I do like that they did it against a better level of competition, man. Maybe, just maybe, we'll have something to talk about beyond the usual stuff that we do. We'll see, man. Let's see. Next week when we talk, we'll see where the Tribe stands here. We're looking at the break and we'll look back. What are you guys working on? I'm guessing I got an idea on didthetribewinlastnight.com. What are you working on this week?
Yeah, well, actually, a couple things. I'll have a couple posts coming out. First, the one I kind of teased for next week. Where are the Indians financially, and how does that work at the trade deadline, and what possibilities are there? Looking at their payroll now and what it's going to be in 2016 and 2017. And the other one is something that I always like to do around the All-Star break, and especially this year, is ways to improve the game or ways to increase some fan interest. And I'm kind of excited to do that, because I'm actually going to the All-Star game.
Oh, sweet.
And all the festivities this year down in Cincinnati. So that'll be fun, too.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun there. What do you think? Is Pete Rose going to be a part of the festivities?
Do I think who will be?
Pete Rose. There was some talk that it's going to be up to the Reds, I think, maybe baseball. They wanted him to be a part of it, and some talk that they may. Have you heard about any of that? There's some talk that they're debating.
I think they'll include him, but I think it's going to be more minor than what it would have originally been with the stories that have come out this summer about him allegedly gambling, during his playing career. I think at one point this was going to be a weekend campaign to get Pete Rose at least on the ballot, and I think that is long ago went away. I think now, we've seen him be allowed to be on the field and tip his cap and wave, and I think that's what you'll get this time around, too.
I think he was on the verge of getting back in, but, man, and how crazy, not to go on this, we don't have to do nothing, but how crazy that the evidence that it comes out that nobody knew about turned out to be a part of an organized crime investigation that had nothing, just had nothing to do with Pete Rose or Major League Baseball. Totally different case. And now somebody's put two and two together and unearthed these documents and these betting slips that were found in a completely different raid that have now contradicted all this time. I've got to think that Pete Rose, the reason he had to have not believed that there was, and he admitted to whatever could be proven, and he had to have believed that there was nothing left that could be proven, and then boom, some random investigation overcomes or overturns these betting slips that now blow up his whole argument.
Yeah, and I think, like a lot of these guys, they tell the lie to themselves long enough that they actually
say
believe
yes,
it, Jerry.
yes,
I mean,
they believe it. Yep.
No different than A-Rod or Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens, and I think that's what turns so many people off of them, is vehemently and publicly lying right through their teeth, and we all know it, and they're just banging on the table going, no, I didn't do these things, and there's a mountain of evidence on the other side.
I totally agree. Mike Brandenberry, didthetribewinlastnight.com. Let's talk about all of this and more next week when we do the thing, man.
Yeah, we'll do. Thanks for having me.
As always, thanks for being here. Great conversation, my man. Mike B. from didthetribewinlastnight.com. As I say all the time, make sure you guys bookmark it and take a look at what they do. They are one of the best sites out there for Indians coverage, really from all perspective and points of views. Check them out as well. The other guys we referenced there, everybodyhatescleveland.com. My friend Jim Pete's doing a good job trying to grow something over there. Check them out as well. Don't go anywhere. Check us out when we come back Final segment of the day coming up. We'll look ahead. Indians, A's, some pitching matchups, the Gladiators. Final segment of the show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
High hopes we had for the future and our goals in sight. We know we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are family. Sing it to me. I got all my sisters sing it to me.
And now, a very special announcement from the Sports Fix.
Black bears weigh between 200 and 500 pounds. Brown bears weigh between 300 and over 1,000 pounds. Black bears run away from you. Brown bears run at you. When attacked by a bear, simply lie still on the ground and cover your face and head with your hands. When the bear is finished batting you around and mauling you, contact the U.S. Forest Service.
And that was a message from the Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com.
What's your fantasy?
No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. From their awesome Wing Mondays to every single Cavaliers and Buckeye Hoops games in full HD.
Kyrie's supposed to D, goes inside, teardrops it all right down Euclid.
That's way up in there for two.
The excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials.
And now,
fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens.
Let's get it all!
And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger.
They sure are good.
Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious.
Hey there, eat up, y'all. You's as good church-going folk. Y'all deserve a little treat.
What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
Hi, this is Dean Chenoweth, head coach of Cleveland's Lake Erie Monsters, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
welcome back to the Sports Fix as we wrap things up. Supersized edition of the show today as we had a lot of things to catch up on. I want to thank you guys for being with us as always. Jonathan Knight, sports writer extraordinaire. Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. A great Friday edition of the show. Enjoy it all weekend long. Hey, I don't say this often, but do me a favor and share it if you like what you heard. Tag us in it. Share us in it. Let me see what you're doing, and I'll make sure to shout you out on the air. If you like what you hear here on the Sports Fix, share it with somebody else. Don't just say, hey, listen to the Sports Fix. Feed it to them. Show them exactly where to do it. Click on the share button if you're listening on TuneIn, if you're on Spreaker, if you're on iHeartRadio, if you're on iTunes, however you are, share it. Put it out there with the direct link so that somebody else can jump in and do what we do. Let's keep this thing growing. It's either that or it dies on the vine, guys, and it's up to you because I can do what I do on my part, but we've got to continue. And you guys do such a great job. Literally, at least 50 to 60% of the new listeners as they come in are brought in from recommendations that they heard from somebody else, which is the ultimate sign of what we're doing and you guys enjoying what we do. So please, this weekend is a great time to do that. Share the show. Maybe you enjoyed our talk on Wednesday with TNA World Heavyweight Champion Ethan Carter III from right here in Cleveland. Share that show over the weekend. Or maybe the show we did with Jonathan Knight last week, talking about his book on Major League. So many great individual episodes of the show. Please, if you enjoyed one, share the word with somebody else, and let's keep this thing moving out there as we head into another weekend. A lot of things going on this weekend. As I mentioned, I'm wrestling in Erie, Pennsylvania tomorrow. Matter of fact, we mentioned Jim Pete from Everybody Hates Cleveland. He may actually be out there at the show, and I may get a chance to meet him in person for the first time. So many of us have known each other for years or months or however long it's been, but never actually met in person because we're all over the place here. So that could be fun. If you guys get a chance, if you're in the Erie, Pennsylvania area, come on out to the Saga Club. Look it up on Facebook. Pro Wrestling Rampage is the name of the promotion. I'll be there tomorrow night live and in living color. The Gladiators in Philadelphia this weekend. They had 4th of July weekend off last weekend. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They're 7-7 for the season. A shot at the first place Philadelphia Soul. They sit 5 games out of first place here. Gladiators need to get things moving. Last time they were out there, of course, as I said, 2-game losing streak. They dropped a 74-41 loss to Jacksonville. Now they're getting back out there. Philly coming in off of a victory at home. They on a 2-game winning streak. The Gladiators on a 2-game losing streak. If the season ended today, the Gladiators would have the 4th and final playoff spot in the American Conference. Philly, of course, the number 1 team in the division and the conference. Last time these guys played early on in the season, Philly all over the Glad, 63-48. This game can be seen anywhere. If you're listening to us anywhere across the country, national TV appearance for the Cleveland Gladiators. It will be broadcast nationally on the CBS radio or CBS Sports Television Network, as well. You can hear it on the radio, CBS Radio with Doug Plagans. But nationally, Gladiators, one of only 2 national appearances for him here this season. They'll be on the CBS Sports Television Network. You can check out that game. It's an afternoon game, so you can watch the Gladiators and then come on out and watch me wrestle tomorrow night. Gladiators kicking it off, from Philly, 1 p.m. kickoff Saturday afternoon, the Soul and the Gladiators. Indians will be busy all weekend long at Progressive Field. It starts tonight. Danny Salazar cannot be happy about the way his last start went. He had a commanding 3-0 lead, gave up that bad inning, 5 runs in that inning that blew it up, and unfortunately dropped that one to the Pirates. Danny Salazar looking to shake that off. He's been very good this season, 7-4, 4.1 ERA. Kendall Graverman, the other side for Oakland. Tomorrow, 6:10 on Saturday. Undecided for Oakland, taking on Carlos Carrasco. I'm not sure who Oakland's got starting on the Saturday game. Carrasco, 10-7, 4.17 ERA. Sunday, to me, the marquee pitching matchup anyways. Sonny Gray, 9-3, 2.2 ERA for the Oakland A's, taking on Corey Kluber, the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner, 4-9, 3.45 ERA. Should be a good series, and you know what? If the Indians can do what they need to do and sweep this one here this weekend, it'll put them right where they want to be, back at 500, and it's been a long climb to get there, and they'll have a long climb to go in the second half, but that would be a great way to get it started. This is the first matchup for the Tribe and the A's this season. Last year, last two seasons combined, these teams have just about went 50-50 with each other. Tribe has won 7 and lost 6. Oakland coming in on a 2-game losing streak, but as I mentioned, they've lost 8 of 13 heading into this one. Indians, flip side of the coin, have won 8 of their last 11. July's been a good month for David Murphy. He's hitting .375 so far, 5 RBIs in the first part of the month. Tribe's 11-8 against the AL West heading into this one with the A's. So this is the last chance before, of course, All-Star break, and the All-Star game will be Tuesday in Cincinnati. Indians, a week from today, when we get back on here, will be getting ready for the second half as they'll stay in Cincinnati. Well, at least Jason Kipnis will stay in Cincinnati since he's going to be at the All-Star game. And the Indians kick off the second half of the season in Cincy 1 week from today, July 17th, at Great American Ballpark. Can they get to 500? It'll be tough. The A's aren't rolling over for anybody, but they come in struggling. They're 10 games under 500, and this is definitely an opportunity for the Indians to continue the run that they've been on and end that first half much, much better than the way they started it. So looking forward to it. As I said, some reasons to get out besides the baseball. Fireworks, Dollar Dog Night tonight. You've got the Alomar jersey giveaway tomorrow, which should be a big success. And of course, Sunday, you don't need anything other than the fact that it's Sonny Gray versus Corey Kluber to get you out there for that one. Monday, we'll be back, God willing, here to talk about all of that. Talk about the first half of the season with Dan Wismar, who's back with us. He was off on Wednesday. He'll be back with us on Monday. We'll talk about the first half of the Tribe season. Talk some Buckeyes, too. How about this? For all the people that predicted Braxton Miller was gone and he'll be playing here and quarterbacking there, my man says not only is he staying at Ohio State, he says, I'm the best athlete in college football, and I'm going to be the quarterback of the Ohio State Buckeyes. The moxie, you got to appreciate it, and he's going nowhere, and he's not capitulating that job to anybody. We'll talk some Buckeyes next week, and Browns. We'll talk some conversation about football on both levels there with Dan Wismar from the Cleveland fan. Hey, speaking of football, I'm 5 weeks away from broadcasting my first football game of the season here when South High kicks off their high school football season this year, August 28th. I'll crack the mic on WINT 1330 for the first time, and I got a full slate of games, including a really cool one. I'll tell you guys about it later, but September 11th is a Friday night. I will actually be heading to Cincinnati. I will go down to Cincinnati St. Xavier. Big early season clash between a couple of powerhouses in the state of Ohio, Cincinnati St. Xavier and Menor. I'll call that one from the field at Cincinnati St. Xavier. It'll be an interesting weekend. I'm actually down in Columbus wrestling on Thursday night. Then I'll call the game in Cincinnati on Friday. Then I shoot all the way back up to Erie, Pennsylvania that Saturday. It's going to be a heck of a weekend. But already time to start getting ready for football and play-by-play, and it'll be a lot of fun here in the next month or two as things continue. Guys, we're going to call it a day and call it a weekend. You guys enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Tribe, football, Gladiators in action. Hoops, well, we'll see who signs where. I'm curious. Mark Cuban apparently just vented his spleen about what happened with DeAndre Jordan, so I'm going to go check that out, see what he's got to say about that. We'll talk about all the latest Monday. Dan Wismar is in the house. We'll take your phone calls. We'll talk Indians, Cavs. We'll talk free agency, Buckeyes, Browns. Who knows where it's going to go. Just be here with us to find out and enjoy the ride. Guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy is the key word. Enjoy the weekend. Whatever you do, be safe. Don't use fireworks unsafely. I guess I should have warned you about that last weekend, too. But get out there and have some fun, but be safe and get back here Monday. Same bad time, same bad channel, live at noon, baby, across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland, and beyond, wherever you're at. Thank you for being with us, and get back here Monday, and we'll see you then, right here on the Sports Fix.
We hustle, don't sleep, out here in Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland. You know that I'm long nights, cold weather, it ain't nothing pretty. So much hate up in this itty bitty city. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Put your hands up in the air, everybody say yeah, yeah. Yeah.